Hello, everyone, and welcome to Networked. I'm your host, Jenny Rojan-Asatian, and I am so excited to sit down today with someone who works very closely with our nonprofit, NCW Tech Alliance. Joining me in the studio today will be Shon Dempsey, who is not only an NCW Tech Alliance policy board member, but he's also heading up a brand new network of tech advisors who will be spearheading an effort to better serve the technology needs of our region. With the help of community members and the tech advisors, our region is poised to be established as a wonderful hub for technology innovation the next 20 years. Stay tuned as I sit down with Shon to learn more about his background, the tech advisors, and how you can get involved. Join us right here on Studio on the NCW Life channel. And welcome to Networked. I am so excited to introduce our guest today, Shon Dempsey, NCW Tech Alliance board member, and also with a local tech company. So, Shon, welcome to Networked.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And we've talked about it a couple times and glad to finally make it.
I know. I think the pandemic schedules didn't align for filming, and we took a little break while we were rebranding. So it's fun to have you in the studio here on our 8th season. So let's talk first. I'd love for our audience to get to know you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your background. Are you a local? What's been your career journey?
Yeah, of course. Born and raised here in Wenatchee. Actually, my parents were also born and raised here. So, second generation. I did escape for a little bit. That's kind of like the story I like to tell everybody is I went to school at Eastern, came back here, and then I actually ended up getting a job with Squarespace and moved to New York. And I was there for 3.5 years. And then we finally decided that the company was going to open a spot in Portland. So I've always wanted to live in Portland, and I'd already been traveling back to Wenatchee to see family on holidays, and holiday travel is not fun, especially from New York. All those movies you see about holiday travel is true. And so we made it back to the Pacific Northwest, and I lived in Portland for another number of years there. And then after having my son, we were like, you know what? We're still traveling to Wenatchee. Wenatchee's still a great place. And there's some great up-and-coming things in the Valley for work for me as well. So we moved back to Wenatchee, and I work for a company now called Legwork. I'm the lead brand designer there. And I've been a graphic designer for I think I've been going 18 years now. So everything from web to brands. I've done a lot of local brands as well. And so, very graphic design heavy.
Well, your story is aligned a little bit but sooner, of what's happened in tech. Like you went to a big city to pursue a career in technology, followed that to, Portland and Seattle have been up and coming tech centers. And then obviously moved to Wenatchee for family sooner, but that's very typical of what we used to always envision tech into the big metropolis.
Absolutely.
And now that's thriving right here in North Central Washington.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about design. What does that mean when, you're the lead designer inside of a technology company? Yeah.
Sure. A lot of it's communication and problem solving. So, making sure right now as the lead designer for Legwork, it's making sure that our message is clear and consistent, and especially people that are maybe experiencing our brand for the first time, get a consistent experience from when they first sign on the website to when they actually, sign up for our services, and kind of any visuals that might come along that way. And then it's also about, solving problems as far as like making sure people are getting the information they find when they're looking for it.
And how they navigate through a website or through newsletter content. Yes.
Easy and digestible as possible.
That makes sense. And so for the creatives who might be watching, I think one of the things about STEM or technology, there's also that A piece, that art, the STEAM, and the arts integration and design in technology fields. What has been your experience there in seeing how you can bring that creative into technology?
Yeah, it's actually really interesting you bring that up, because when I was going to school, I started off in engineering and programming. I started learning C++. And so I knew I would want to do something with computers, but I've always been very art focused. I love to draw, and when like Photoshop came on, I was like, all about Photoshop.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got to college I realized that graphic design was a thing. And so even my degree is in programming, but I found graphic design is like, that's what I wanted to do. I just didn't know it existed. So yes, the A in STEAM is really important. I actually also serve on the advisory board for the WVC program. And yeah, so it's, if you're creative and you enjoy art, absolutely, whether it's straight up like illustration, icons, a lot of the biggest things that happened like the last like 3 or 4 years has been a lot more illustration scene, illustrated people, that sort of thing is becoming a lot higher demand. Icon design. So there's lots of different facets if you're purely creative. And then if you're like a little bit creative and you like to maybe problem solve a little bit more, then there's also the user interface, user experience route. So there's a lot of options if you're a creative and you're looking to get into tech.
And I love that you've blended both of those passions into a career here in North Central Washington.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about giving back. You mentioned the advisory board at Wenatchee Valley College.
Yeah.
And then you also joined the Tech Alliance, the nonprofit producing network, and that I get to work. Tell us about your decision to join the board and what attracted you to the Tech Alliance.
Yeah, so I remember having this conversation actually with you a while back, and I think one of the biggest things that I was attracted to about the Tech Alliance was just simply the advocacy for STEM, tech in the Valley. And I've always thought that Wenatchee was like a perfect spot for tech companies because like we talked about, we have the big cities that seem to be like the tech hubs, but then those same people then escape the big city for like their time off, right? Where Wenatchee offers that like outdoors thing that those people are seeking, as well as the infrastructure for technology. And so, I left the Valley, so to speak, for a bit, at least because I had a hard time finding a job that matched what I was looking for. And I had to go elsewhere for that. But I know that Wenatchee is fully capable of hosting that level of business. And I think now that's becoming even more evident. So I wanted to join the nonprofit to help kind of live that a little bit more, to be a part of that and to advocate for it. So, if my kids want to get into tech, that they have, something reliable here in the Valley, should they choose to stay here.
Well, thank you for your leadership at the Technology Alliance and your passion for our communities, because I do think it is about our youth, as you talked about. It's about creating an ecosystem and a pathway for opportunity for the artists or the engineers or the coders to find great employment locally. And simultaneously to help our business community use and adapt technology so that they can thrive. And one of the things you've been instrumental in at the Tech Alliance is really our website program. So I'd like to talk, kind of shift into gears a little bit. Can you lay the framework a little bit for the work you've been doing for small businesses and helping them build websites?
Yes. So my first creative job here in the Valley was with a smaller agency called Sagaza Marketing Group. And that's where I did a lot of my branding and logo work as well. But also with that was like the web, right? And especially, I'm going to date myself here. Like the 2000s, let's say 2006, 2009 was like a big boom in the Wenatchee area, especially for like, hey, I need to get my business online. You need to have that online visibility. And so websites then became a huge focus for me and for my company at that time. And it just, has obviously not stopped. So, and it's also interesting with the website program, what kind of attracted me to help with that is that problem still exists for a lot of people. There's still a lot of businesses that just, either they don't have the bandwidth or they feel like it's maybe still too difficult for them to do it or maybe they don't have the funds for it. So
you're right. The predominance of website growth in the early 2000s changed how we do business. Obviously changed how we buy and sell things as well, with e-commerce coming online. But the majority of small and rural businesses are still not connected to what seems like a no-brainer in 2022. Yeah. Or they're using social channels as that stopgap, right? Tell us, if someone's listening in today who doesn't have a website, can you talk a little bit about why you do encourage small businesses to either get involved with our program or to make that investment in having one?
Yeah, so I like to think that a website for any business is really their home base. It's like the kind of often the times the first stop that people are going to make to experience a business.
Mm.
And so whether it's they've heard about your business or whether they're interested in just kind of gathering a bit more information, you know, chances are they might find you on social if that's all you have. But if you don't have a home base like your website, the story of your business might not be told in the way you want it to. So with
Mhm.
your own website, you get to be able to craft what your brand is like for people and how they should be experiencing that for the first time.
Going back to that branding and
Yeah,
graphic piece, I
exactly.
think that's
Yes.
really important.
Yeah.
Well, for those, we do have to head out to a commercial break, but I do want to share with our audience, if you are watching today and you're a small business in North Central Washington, Shon is one of 3 instructors that we have leading the program, along with over 10 tech volunteers who can assist with small businesses to help you get online. I think we do have a photo or two even of some of the offline work that we have done in terms of helping small businesses and rebuilding computers. Lots of resources at NCW Tech Alliance.
Absolutely.
So check us out on the website. Well, we'll take a short commercial break and then we'll be back to talk about the new technology network group and how you can get involved. Well, welcome back to Networked. We're on air today with Shon Dempsey. He is a designer here in Wenatchee, but he's also on the Tech Alliance Board of Directors and has been instrumental in helping us with our rebrand, the next 20-year mission of the nonprofit, and that includes some really big work around technology advisors.
Mm-hmm.
So as we lay the groundwork there, maybe it'd be helpful, Shon, can you introduce a little bit of how the Tech Alliance functions right now? So you're on the board. What does that look like?
So it essentially is us, getting together, kind of finding out what's going on with the Tech Alliance, what companies maybe have approached the Alliance, what programming is going on, and kind of help give you guys some guidance perhaps and how to maybe make some decisions and kind of just pick our brains on things. And then, we lend our expertise, I believe, into helping you make the most of those decisions.
Yeah. So it's kind of the organizational structure, helps with the financials, the mission, decision making. But we're trying to grow and do a little bit more and get some more capacity. And so I think that's where I've been really excited about the tech advisors. Tell me a little bit about that group and what is trying to be accomplished through it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things that I think we're trying to accomplish with tech advisors is establish another kind of board with additional community members who are in the tech sector and several different arenas of tech, be it ag, healthcare, et cetera, really representative of our valley, which brings us to kind of like our guiding light, I believe, at this point is this Our Valley, Our Future study and kind of the feedback that has been given to that study and the desire for more opportunities and things in tech.
And for context, Our Valley, Our Future is another nonprofit in town. They did a lot of community visioning work probably the last 5 years, but there was also a study done by WSU about the landscape of technology, what are the jobs ahead, and some of the big gaps there were really around education. How do we educate people into tech employment? So let's talk a little bit about how you see that folding into the tech advisors and what are some of the things ahead you're building?
So mostly right now with the advisors I brought on at this point are, in these different industries. And so they're able to kind of lend their expertise and ideation as far as like programming and how can we kind of serve the Valley? What kind of things can we bring in these different industries to help bring about more awareness and also just involvement in the Alliance as well and additional community programming.
I think that awareness is so important because in order to grow these sectors, community members, parents have to know about those opportunities inside of technology. You kind of talked about it a little bit earlier growing up here. You didn't see those opportunities, felt like you needed to leave in order to really pursue it. With the advisory group, talk a little bit about that awareness strategy and the events that you're going to be hosting to kind of get the word out there.
Yeah, so we're kind of looking at two, I think, almost opposite ends of the spectrum for some of the programming that we're at least going to pitch, right?
Okay.
So one is this, like, they attracting people who may not know anything about technology and want to get involved and maybe just have a little bit more of the educational thing, or maybe bringing some awareness to technology where people might not consider it tech. So maybe an example would be the Wenatchee world and printing press. A lot of people might not realize the amount of technology that goes into printing that newspaper, even though it's like a physical thing and has been around for forever. The technology that goes into that is pretty crazy. So that's like bringing some awareness to that, and then also guiding people who are at least maybe a smidge interested in tech and what is available there. And then the other thing that we're really talking about too, which I think is important, is almost the opposite, is the people who are heavily involved in tech, like the geeks, and I'll throw myself in that bucket. I'm definitely a geek and a nerd, and want to get really down deep into talking about cybersecurity and SSL and decryption and that sort of thing, and maybe finding some opportunity there as well to bring in some of these really smart people that we have in the Valley and involve them a little bit more in the Tech Alliance and just general awareness.
I love diving into the super techie side. I think one of the incredible opportunities we have at the Tech Alliance is to bring people together, because the tech sector is really distributed into so many different industries here. We're not a Seattle with high tech all in one corridor. It's inside of Stemilt. It's in Quincy and in Moses Lake, and high tech manufacturing and in healthcare. So you're kind of creating that community spot where individuals in all of those fields can come to.
Yes.
And why is that so important? Can you talk? I mean, I know it is, and I believe in it. But why is it important to create a space where tech community can connect and learn from each other?
I think it's one, again, to kind of bring that community kind of in a local fashion. So, geeks like myself, we're going to go on to Reddit and maybe some forums that we're part of to kind of get feedback and to interact with coworkers, that sort of thing. Maybe you're part of a Discord or a Slack that, keeps in touch with those sorts of things. But I think bringing focus into those people are available here. And if you can, meet at a spot and maybe have a beer and talk about encryption, and kind of scratch that itch, and then have somebody locally that you can go to, you probably realize that the community here is much larger than you think.
And I think the pandemic has also brought in those remote employees that we're still just learning about as we kind of shift out of this pandemic and into an endemic, and people are migrating in social settings again, pulling that talent that's come in from all across the world, really, right here into Wenatchee. Cybersecurity, you brought up a couple times.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, there was a cybersecurity summit a couple months ago. And now there's a move with the North Central Education Service District and the tech advisors to do some more support. What does that look like in the months ahead? Tell us a little bit about the cybersecurity group that you're starting to get attached to work with.
Yeah, so luckily I have an amazing contact that's joined the Tech Advisors, Trevor Coates. He's really involved in this arena as well, and was part of the cybersecurity summit that just happened. And so this is something that he lives and breathes too. And so we're kind of connecting some of the dots with not only the educational district, but also Wenatchee Valley College is going to be hosting some of that too. And I think all this stuff kind of has been bubbling to the surface even a lot more as workers are going remote, and IT professionals don't necessarily have the same direct oversight of their folks in office, right? So they are on separate networks. So it is presenting a lot more challenges. And so being able to have some available programming and events that are seem to just be popping up left and right, and the educational district seems to be doing an ongoing event for cybersecurity as well. So I think that's going to be really interesting for those folks that are craving that information.
And we've had Martin Straub, who's also on the Tech Alliance board, on air before and talked a lot about how people always think, well, I'm not big enough to get a cybersecurity attack, right? Like they're going to go after the government or the bank or someone, but that's really not the case.
Definitely not.
It's coming down to small businesses and individuals who are at risk every day from cybersecurity hackers and threats. Yeah. So I think that cybersecurity group is going to be meeting Fridays once a month. So it's something that for our viewers today can reach out to the Tech Alliance. We can get connected. The tech advisors, though, are also going to be doing some potential work down the road around industry tours, data workshops. If someone is watching today and they're a techie, they speak your language, Shon.
Yeah.
How can they get involved? And, what are you looking for as the community as this group starts to build?
Yeah, so the advisory panel at this point, we're looking to keep a little tight-knit as we kind of really kind of decide some initial direction. But one of the things that I think we're definitely open to is anybody who wants to brainstorm with us or give us some additional ideas or give us their opinion. All those things are definitely welcome as well. I was talking to another gentleman who was definitely interested, but just didn't quite have the time availability to commit to like our regular meetings and that sort of thing, but still wanted to be involved and clearly was passionate about it. And so I was like, can we just, have your contact information? Should we decide to have like a brainstorm meeting on like additional programming? And he was completely open to that. So that's fantastic. So that would be kind of ideal. And so if somebody was interested in that, I think, just email me. You can use my Shon, SHON at NCW Tech and .com, right? And I'll be able to, or .org.
.org.
It is .org.
Yeah,
NCWTech.org.
Yes,
that's
okay.
right.
Yeah.
And I'd be happy to chat with you and see, how you want to be involved.
Yeah. And I think also too, I'll give a shout out for the work that the team is doing in terms of if there are problems and or topic areas that people want to learn more about. We're also seeking that feedback.
Absolutely.
Of, hey, cybersecurity has obviously been top of mind.
Yep.
Let's lean into work there. AI is and automation is really disrupting a lot of industries. So let us know, right?
Yeah.
What are the things that the Tech Alliance can cover?
Since 1999, NCW Tech Alliance has served as our regional hub for technology innovation. As a 501c3, their nonprofit mission is to connect people and technology resources to create a thriving community. You can network with the team and guests from today's show by visiting them at www.ncwtech.org.